Scrimmage. How's the overall health of the team, and especially with is Donovan Green injured?
I think the health of the team's really good. We've had a really good camp that way. We've had guys few nicked and knacked, but nobody that's out. They'll miss a day here, miss a practice here, but we're really healthy. Probably as healthy as we've been in any teams I've had in a long, long time. Donovan will be out. He had an ACL and what he did. And that was it.
Second row, Olin.
Yeah, Jimbo, a couple things. First of all, how long does it take for you to get a feel about, we hear about team chemistry, till you get a feel about what the chemistry's like? Does it have to be halfway through the season? Can you get an idea early?
Just get a sense. I mean, how guys are working, how they're relating to each other. I like our dynamic right now. I really do. I like our dynamic as far as the energy we have in practice, coming with a purpose to meetings. Guys seem to be very locked in, very driven, very motivated, you know what I'm saying? And you can sense it, and an urgency to do things right. And guys communicate this from the communications and questions to each other, to coaches, that dynamic in practice, and feel very confident. But I think chemistry always evolves, and I think situations develop chemistry. I think your chemistry grows as you gain confidence in what you're doing and how you're doing it, and then you get guys in situations that make plays, whether it's in practice, and then in coursing, you got to take it to the practice field in a scrimmage, and you got to take it to a game, during the season. So that culture and chemistry always continues to grow or deplete. It could be. I mean, if it went the other way. I mean, that's always on any team.
And I also wanted to ask you about, throughout your career, you've had the one featured running back at times. You've had the running back committee approach. Do you have a preference that you feel more
No, I
comfortable
just think
with?
it determines by how many guys deserve to play. And I've earned the right to go play and not just play, but play winning football that you can put on the field and we're going to play winning football. And each team and each guys, sometimes you have 2, 3, maybe even 4. Sometimes you have 1 and maybe possibly 2. You got to have that's all based off the guys you have, which you want to have depth, but you also, if you got a guy that's elite, you can, that is really hot, you want to try to keep him. And there's a fine line, because you got to think about this league. There's 12 regular season games, and every team in this league has great defensive people. And that's what separates this league. The defensive linemen in this league separate it, the speed of it, but the defensive linemen of it. And so that pounding and beating and carries, then by each guy's durability. I mean, certain guys can carry it 25 times a game. It doesn't bother them. And sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with size. I mean, Travion was a guy who could carry a large load and was not an extremely big guy, but man, guy ran for 1,700 and some yards. And the Chain was a guy who could take large volumes of carries at times. You know what I mean? Dalvin was a guy who was not gigantic. He was 200, 205, but I mean, he could take large volumes. Freeman could. But then other guys, there's 15 touches, and it varies. But I'd like to have a bunch of them, because, nicks and knacks and getting banged up at that position kind of goes with the territory.
So your experience, how are guys typically receptive to the committee?
Just about it. I'm going to tell you what, I can remember a group, I think a Chain and Spiller did a really good job of it. I remember a group when I was at Florida State, year 1 national championship. You had a Freeman, Wilder, and Carlos Williams, who were all significant guys and all had 8 or more. They were each other's biggest cheerleaders on the sideline. I mean, I think it goes back to who you are as a person and what you want your individual goals, but I mean, how do you want your team to do? It goes back to a lot of character and personality too.
Down front, Brett.
Donovan is a big loss, but what kind of camp? In terms of your tight end depth?
Been
Jake,
very
Theo,
pleased
and
with
those
that.
guys, how they're doing.
I mean, we held Max out of the scrimmage. He had a toe, was banged up a little bit. We got it healed up completely, and he'll be ready to go. Jake Johnson's had a really good camp. Theo caught, I think, 8 balls in the scrimmage, 7 or 8 balls in the scrimmage. I think he's played really. I mean, he's really starting to grow and emerge. You got Garza in that position, and what we're trying to do, and then bringing Jaden Platt's another young guy that we got a lot of reps in there that's doing well. So, as far as you hate losing Donovan, I mean, that's a very experienced, really good player, and you don't want to lose anybody. But these guys here have really had good camps. I mean, and Donovan was nicked out in the beginning. He wasn't even running with the ones, for a while, because he was nicked up coming off an injury from spring and getting on his ankle. So those other guys were playing really well, and we have good numbers there.
Coach, we'll go back behind the lights, far right.
Over here, Coach.
Yes, sir.
What's your message just for the mental side of it to, any player that goes through a setback like that? You'd like to think they come in, they do all the right things, it'll work out, and, obviously.
No, unfortunately, it's a part of this game that happens, and you got to look at the long haul. I always say this. We're in such an instant gratification world, which is cruel. We want, and kids should. I want to play now, I want to do good, which is what you should, the urgency to go get ready to play. But you got to remember, it's when you walk out of here. And one thing you've learned about medical issues, I mean, the medical staffs and this medical treatment period across the world has gotten so much better over time that I can remember when an ACL, when you were my age, an ACL, you probably never played again. Or you were lucky, or it was now they come back a lot of times even stronger. You know what I mean? Just understand it can be very disheartening and things that go. But remember, there's a long thing, and he's a young guy that you can come back from those things, and there's been huge numbers of guys that have done it, and you got to always keep that in their head, and I think you got to keep them engaged in your team. That's why you can't get them when they get their treatments, but they're in meetings, you travel with them, you take them with you, and use their advice. And I tell you what, sometimes, what they've got to do is sit back sometimes and sit and practice like a coach and be by the coaches. And then when you see things to a coach's eye, some of the things that, it's like your parents. You used to think they nagged you to death, or coaches are nagging you and driving you. That's not very important. When you sit back and look at how that happens in a practice, and you're sitting there with the coach, and you see, now in the big picture of things, how that affects this and this, sometimes it can help you even grow as a player. So, that's what he's got to do, and we're going to keep him engaged, and you hate for that for him, but, that unfortunately, that's part of anything you do. There's an injury could happen.
And for y'all as a coaching staff, when you go through a scrimmage, what's kind of goes through your mind as far as things that you're looking that this is a successful scrimmage? I'm sure, offense makes a play like the defense, vice versa, but what do you look for?
Here's the thing. I want sides to make plays. One, I don't want every side making a play because the other one screws up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, now you want them to do that if the defense makes a play that the offense sees it, takes advantage, hits a big play, or makes a big gash, or the defense of the offense, runs the wrong route, has a wrong blocking assignment, makes that they take advantage of those situations. You got to be able to take advantage of those situations. But as a coach, what you want is, the play called right, get out of the huddles, get lined up, defense, get the checks, get lined up, be in the proper leverages. Make sure on offensively that, your communication, you're getting a hat to a hat. You're not having missed assignments. You're not turning people loose that can cause negative big plays against you offensively that can create turnovers or sacks or tackles for loss that, that makes it hard. And, you're looking for overall execution. At the end of the day, I grade the play, offense and defense. As a head coach, you go through, and it's a plus or a minus by the efficiency of what you're trying to accomplish on that play. And then beside it, what is it that caused it, how it's caused, and why it's caused, and and hopefully somebody's number doesn't show up a bunch, and that means somebody's in trouble. But and then you look schematically against, you're always engaging against each other because is that sound versus is that the best thing we could call and things like that, and that's what you're trying to get. You want consistency. You want guys to line up and do the right things, and then be able to. I want a receiver to be running down the field and a guy and be good coverage and be able to go up and make a play. Or a DB being one-on-one coverage and know he's exploited on that play because there's a blitz coming and they're going to come at him on a deep ball, be able to, press the guy, get his hands, fight, play through his hands, fight, squeeze him to the sideline, take on a go ball or something. You know what I mean? Know when, guys making plays when they're at the pressure point of the offense or defense that makes that play successful or not, that those guys can do it when the other team does it right. That's when you start, you're doing things really well.
We'll stay back behind the lights in the middle, Tyler.
Jimbo's curious your thoughts on special teams, how that's going right now, and then who do you anticipate, returning punts? And
really right now I'm very pleased with our snappers. We've been snapping the ball extremely well, having any of that. Our operation times are really well. Our kickers are hitting the balls, and even balls that if not every field goal is made, but the sound of the ball, the rotation of the ball, they're not mishitting balls, not spraying balls, and they're barely all, you know what I'm saying? Punting game is doing really well. I've been really pleased with our specialists. I really have. There's a lot of consistency and hitting the ball very well. Returning-wise, you still haven't, Nice to be back returning punts. You got Moose who's returned punts. And then other guys that we incorporated. Bryce Anderson was a guy that we looked at in the spring and I think can really be, in that. And there's a couple other of these young guys that can be really good. Kick off the same way. Le'Veon's a guy back there can hit it. There's some young guys in there, and we got different guys we're piecing through as we're putting those together. But, have some really good skill guys and guys that I think are very dynamic with the ball that can create some plays.
And then also wanted to ask just kind of your general thoughts on how the scrimmage went. What were your biggest takeaways?
Biggest takeaway, I thought physicality was good. I thought, again, you always want more consistency when you're putting some young guys. And some of our older guys, we scrimmaged a certain number of plays and got them out to see other young guys, guys that we knew. But I thought, for the most part, up front on both sides of the ball, I thought we had good physicality, defensive line and offensive line. I was very pleased with a lot of their movements, and the offensive line is really, I think, is emerging some guys that are are coming on really well. I mean, I think Chase Basant is doing a great job. Demetrius Crownover's having a phenomenal camp. I mean, that guy's playing, him and Basant's playing really good. Of course, Cam and all those guys coming back. Getting Deuce back in the mix. We'll get him back in. He didn't scrimmage the other day, but he's been back in practice a couple of days, so he'll get back in the next one and be ready to go. Mark Boo has really become a jack of all trades. He's playing center, guard, he can play tackle, and I mean playing well. Like I said, Dewberry's done well. Layden, of course. TJ Shanahan's a young guy we really like. Strickland's really emerged and done well. Trey Zune, I think he spoke with y'all earlier. Man, he's things he played through last year and the toughness he showed on those things, banged and bruised for a whole season, has done an excellent job up front. It's all the young guys. DJ Hicks, for a young guy, really, you saw his ability. Of course, McKinley played well, is always disruptive. Walter, very explosive. Mike Overton did a good job. Albert doing a solid job. Jaden Scarlett's a guy in practice that keeps coming on. Shamar Turner, there's nobody that loves football more than Shamar Turner. Shamar Turner plays really well, does everything right. Just energy, effort. I mean, does everything, does a really good job. Diggs, young guy, Kennedy. LT is really flashed at times. Shamar Stewart's played solid. I tell you what, I'm very pleased with Malik Sela. Malik Sela up front and doing different things in different game with him rushing, being a pat. I mean, he's really put on that size now. He's long, he can run, he can change direction. Him and Eni White are guys that, merging in that role with those big, long, athletic guys. They're, that 240, 245 range. That can rush and they can stand up, cover, track guys down. They can spy quarterbacks and get in lanes. And, I mean, there's a lot of stuff they can do. And I just really jumped at me in there. But, I thought we were physical. Offensively, I thought, for the most part, took care of the ball very well. Now defense, you want to create turn, but offense, quarterback's decision-making was good. We dropped a couple. I like to say we dropped a couple balls at receiver. At some little things I wish we wouldn't have done. But the quarterbacks, for the most part, I thought decision-making was very good. Accuracy was pretty solid. I mean, here and there. Running backs, solid. It was a good first scrimmage, but I can see more consistency, but I like the physicality of it.
Go to left side, Carter, and then Brent.
Jimbo, we've seen the true freshman cornerback Javon Thomas get a lot of good reps in practice. What have you seen from him that has really impressed you this
Well, just
season?
consistency and a natural football player. All that whole young secondary group. He has been outstanding, I thought, competed and played. Brooks has been outstanding. Brooks is play. Man, he made some plays every day, and I'm gonna tell you what, that guy's physical. Brooks can play, and so can't Rogers. Bavion Rogers. Those guys are all athletic, can run. I think they're really good players. Can curve back in there. Of course, that whole group of those young guys is really good. They'll play and help us. I mean, they're going to be really good players. But I think they're natural. They hustle, they listen, they learn, they play hard, they're instinctive, and they can run and they're physical. They like contact. I mean, they're not guys. Some guys are physical. They like it. I mean, they really like the contact of it and tackle well and cover. I'm very excited about that. And I can say our whole freshman group for the young receivers that played. Just going out there in the first scrimmage for a game, 3 weeks for a game. Like I say, DJ Hicks, the young lineman, Basantis, and was really, really good. Shanahan, if he didn't have the spring like Basantis did, but man, Shanahan, he's got a chance to be a really good player. Tomlinson, I mean, the young backs, the secondary guys outstayed. The linebackers, I've been very happy. Those young linebackers getting lined up, calls, learning, picking, doing the things they do, and the up front guys. Like I said, DJ Hicks, man, we recruited the right guys. They're good
Brent,
players.
I was also going to ask about Trey Zune. You touched on him a little bit, but as far as pass protection, he said that's something that he's been looking to improve this offseason.
How he's getting his offhand, staying square, getting his kicks, reading sets, reading fronts, understanding where his help's coming from all the time, when he's got chip health, when he's in the slide, and just really, Trey's a very, very intelligent guy, man. Really intelligent, and he's athletic. And Trey's got multiple positions on him. Trey could play across the board if he had to. I mean, he could go play center if he wanted to. I mean, Trey has that kind of intelligence and ability. And like I say, last year, people don't realize how. And that guy, he had a shoulder and a knee that were bothering him like crazy. And he never only missed a game. He didn't miss practice. He missed one game, the Alabama game. Remember, we couldn't play him in there. We had to rearrange that front. But that guy is a tough son of a gun, man. I mean, he's smart. And he's playing really good football right now. Really good football.
Brent, and then Mark, you'll wrap us up.
AP poll released today, number 23 in it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You had talked to your guys about that. How do y'all approach that in terms of the preseason poll in that sense?
Don't say nothing. Go play our game and take care of your business. You'll move up the poll.
So Houston is hosting the national title game maybe for the first time. I need to look that up.
Really?
First time in forever. So that's 100 miles
Has
away.
it ever been in the state of Texas? Dallas, I mean, yeah, and at the
AT&T.
Cotton Bowl.
Yeah,
But I mean, the national championship games has in that Cotton Bowl, it has that, because they own that rotation.
right. Yeah, so Houston.
Well, I guess I wouldn't count in that road. I guess,
Yeah, it's all new because a true
Yeah.
national championship game has only been around for how long? So. But so in that sense, I don't think Houston ever.
That'd be
has.
neat.
So
I'm
is
all
that-
for it.
Is that something that you even?
I'm all for it.
Put a picture in the locker room or anything? You know, it's 100
well,
miles away. That's what I'm
sometimes
trying
you
to
do. We
get to
got,
here.
well, you have those goals, but what you got to do is, those are your goals. Now you got to go back to your habits in the process of making your daily habits match your goals, and that's. But those are ultimate things that we'll talk. We'll retouch. We did at the beginning of camp, and we'll retouch on those before. About 2 weeks before, again, we'll retouch on all of our goals and aspirations and see how our camp has done it, and then we'll put the emphasis on what we're going to do and what we're going to be. So hopefully after this week, going back in. But those are things you do. You put pictures of them. You put signs of them. I mean, always reminders of things that are important in your program that you think can get you there.
Mark, you-
Easy drive.
Yep. Save some money on travel.
Mark, you wrap this up.
You talked about Trey. You talked about Basantis. Now you got Deuce coming back with just a couple of weeks left before the season
I'm telling you one
starts.
other thing, boys. I'm telling you about Crownover. Crownover is playing really good football, and I'm telling you, and that is a big human being.
With
Who is
such
athletic
short-
and smart.
With such short time left, how do you figure out how your rotation's going to
We
be
do
at
it
those
all the time.
tackle spots?
Well, we do it. I mean, we'll get them back in, see how they go, and we do them practice all the time. That's why you see guys play guard, guys play tackle, guys, trying to get your best 5 guys across the board. You know what I'm saying, and where they're at, and where each guy, can be to get your best 5. So we'll play games there. But I mean, like I say, Cam Dewberry's played well inside. Mark Naboo's played well inside. Layden's played well inside. I mean, those guys and Remy's coming on really well. I mean, those guys have. I mean, we got to go play in the games like that. But I've been pleased with their development. We got things we got to get fixed, but I mean, they've come on.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you.